would probably be like, okay, I counted, I got 74 words, I just need one. It's not quite, it doesn't need to be, to that exact math, but it needs to be a lot of words about whatever type of topic that we are going to be investigating. And I'll show you what I mean, what a teacher web would look like with our planning. We'd want to be thinking about, what are some potential field visits we could take with a class once we figure out a topic. What types of resources will I need to gather beforehand to make sure that when they're researching, they find out the valuable information I know they need to know. A couple of years ago, I had a class that worked on, they were looking at trees, and it was a third grade class, and they hadn't really been taught how to research. And so they read, and this girl did a great job of copying everything from the computer, and she wrote all about Conifer University, which was nothing about what they needed. So, we just want to make sure in our pre-planning, we're thinking ahead of all the ways that I can help my kids. Just like I wouldn't give them, the end of the year math test in 5th grade at the beginning of the year and say, I expect you to be able to do it, and I'm not going to guide you. So you do some guiding. Phase 1 of project work is where we're really finding out what our students know about the project or about the topic. Phase 2 is when we're doing a lot of our researching and representing and doing some new learning together as a class. And then phase 3 is just the sharing of the learning. A lot of times it's called the culminating activity or the culminating event. And then documentation I put down there at the bottom, but it's ongoing evidence of our learning, and it starts at the very beginning. It starts with phase 1. I have a teacher right now in 3rd grade, and they're trying to do something with change. She doesn't quite know what it's going to be yet, but they have a little butterfly, or they have a little caterpillar in their room, and her students are so excited about the change they're seeing there. But then they talked about the change that they were feeling within themselves as a class, because when school started, I love this teacher because she's very open and honest with them, and she said, right now you're being off the hook. And that's not really how we can be when we're in 3rd grade, because we need to learn like this, this, and this. And they've talked about how we already are changing ourselves as students because we want to be here and we want to. So they're trying to figure out what it's going to look like. So she's starting that documentation process of change with her class. So the pre-project work, like I mentioned before, it's just a teacher web. And I know I was here a few times. I know Megan would sit with me, and we did one on storms or weather. We look at all the potential avenues that our project topic could go in. This one was on vehicles. I've done some with lower grades on dogs or trees. And so if I were going to investigate dogs, all the different avenues I could go with dogs. I know there are service dogs. I know there are dogs that we have for pets. I know that dogs, sometimes if they bite, there's a certain process you need to go through. I know there's obedience school. And so I would just kind of be thinking of all the different avenues I could go through as a teacher, and then I would group them together. Who has already done a project before? Okay. So, and do you remember the process of building the web? Does anyone have a current topic they're working on right now?
Well, we're trying to do problem solving or conflict, and we just don't know, if that's how we learn it or not.
And I remember being with a group of 5th grade teachers, maybe, and we did something similar to that. And I know that was a tough one. I know a word that might be closer for them would be bullying, because you do get into problem solving and you do get into conflict, and so that might be where we start. And I know also bullying's like the big buzzword, and it's relevant and it's real in their lives. And as soon as you have the bullying talk, I know as soon as I would go around and do that school expectations, and when someone's bullying you, that's when I get a lot of extra reports on it. But I also know it's a great time for them to define what it is. So maybe start there, even though I know it's going to get bigger than that. But I'm going to keep going. Let me know if you need me to slow down. It's also a really great time to make connection to standards, because that was the biggest concern. I remember when I first started project work, it was introduced to me because preschool and kindergarten had done it, and I thought, well, that's great, because it's preschool and kindergarten, and so that, it's just so much different with them. Right now, as a parent of a kindergartner, I know it is different, but I also know that it's connected to the standards, and I'm really happy that it is, because I need my daughter to be doing rigorous work. That's me selfishly invested, and I knew I was going to be invested here. But they really did deep, good work. But I know that we have to be connected with our standards. I also know we have our curriculum guides, which years ago we didn't. And so I connected it to standards, but I didn't have to be as intentional as we need to be now. Make sure we're looking at our curriculum guides, and if we have a project like bullying, I know that's going to fit in. I know you hit the American Revolution at some point, and it's definitely on ISTEP. So we can, I know for sure, can select the topic. A project can be selected by the teacher, by the student, or by the teachers and the students together. A lot of times with my students, I might think we were going to do something and try to introduce it, but then their ideas would be even better, and so I would naturally let it fold out. And of course, that's what I meant. We were going to study with money. We're going to go this way. I know that 3, 4, 5, and 6, you got I-STEP, you got I-READ, you have all those things heavy and on your mind. You can say, like right at Skyhouse Test, we are really fortunate we're going to get a teaching garden given to us by Roche. They're going to donate 10 planters. First, second, third, in a 6th grade classroom, they're saying, we're going to be given a garden. So we're going to be given the materials to build a garden. We need your help with selecting what types of flowers will be in that garden and how are we going to take care of the garden. So the project's already presented to them, but it's really in their world, so it's relevant to them. So does that help? Okay. And then you can also think about how it's naturally integrated into a variety of areas. I was really fortunate. My music teacher, a lot of times whenever we have a topic, he would, if I let him know far enough in advance, he'd integrate what we were doing, or he'd give me songs that maybe went with our topic where I would learn additional things. It wasn't just about, ants, they have red pants. I mean, that's not really necessarily learning anything, but he would look for things that really make connections for our kids. There are 5 main components in phase 1. Personal stories. And so, like with bullying, has anyone ever been bullied before? You have?
Yeah.
Tell me.
Okay, I'm in a personal story. When I was little, I was on swim team, and I had a carpool with some boys, and when we would get out of the car to go into the pool place, they would always do things to me. Like if it was winter, they'd pull off my hat and throw it away, or they'd push me into the bushes, or they'd do just mean things to me. And then the parent that had been driving didn't see because they'd already driven away.
How did you address it?
It sucked.
Yeah.
I cried. I'm being a 3rd grader now. I cried.
You cried. Are you still bullied? Have you been bullied any time recently as an adult?
Sure.
And were you able to take care of it, or did you?
Yes.
Anybody else been bullied? I don't know. I can go in.
Elaborate.
No.
I was bullied
How were you bullied?
as an adult. At the Creighton school I worked at, I felt like I always had to be there. Like I couldn't take any days off, or couldn't, like, it didn't matter, like if there was a death in the family or anything like that, I felt like I always had to be there. Like there was never an option of having a substitute or anything, so I had to constantly be there, no matter if I was sick, no matter if there was a death in the family, no matter if I was pregnant. Didn't matter, I had to be there.
Oh, wow. And so, you made a change?
Yeah, I made a change, and I just decided that, I wasn't gonna really communicate with them as well as I should have, I guess. So, yeah.
How was that?
I mean, after the change I made, I'm here wearing the red. It's all good now.
You made the best move ever, huh?
Yeah. It's the move of the year.
But you still have to be here every day, no matter.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
But you're really,
They're
really,
really sick.
What about you? You raised your hand.
Yeah, I was bullied as a kid.
Would you like to elaborate?
Yeah.
I don't know if you'd like to. Would you elaborate?
Oh yeah. I was smaller than a lot of the other kids. I was like really thin, and the bigger boys would pick on me. One boy in particular, and one day we were on the 3rd floor of our school, and I just had enough, so we just got in a fight, and we fell down the steps, fighting all the way down the steps. So, but I mean, he didn't pick on me when we actually became friends after that. So
You became friends after that?
yeah.
Wow. It's so interesting. And that's not unusual. I know I've heard people say they've resolved it, and a lot of times with boys I've heard that they become friends. A lot of times with girls, you hear that it festers a lot. Sometimes ladies don't know how to let things go. I'm not speaking for everyone. It's personal, local, and media. So,
When I still see this, one of these now adult people, it still makes me sick.
does it really? I think I All right, what I was doing while you were sharing your stories was also listening for words that were connected to bullying. Like I heard that you became friends later. I heard that bullies do mean things to people. I heard that it made someone cry. That they're pressured into doing things. That you made a change. Somebody made a change one way or the other. You made a change by having a fight, and then you became friends. You made a change by stopping communication. And I don't know what your change was with those boys. What was it?
I quit swimming.
See, and so you made, and every change affected your lives differently. A lot of times I heard that you were smaller, or the bullies were bigger, and then that there was a fight. Those would all be words that you would start to build as your students are telling stories, and you start to pull those words, and you start to build your student web as well. Eventually, we'll kind of group those together, and you'll figure out your student's current knowledge about the topic. Sometimes you're going to hear incorrect information. Like I've heard, well, I'm going to do a project on spiders, and there is a special rare kind of spider that has 9 legs. Are you sure? Yep, my dad told me that spider. So you could make that one of your questions, like, well, let's go ahead and make that. Let's write a question about, what are the anatomical features of a spider, or do they all look the same, or you could formulate some things like that. After personal stories, which start off being oral, but a lot of times they can also be written, you could do memory drawings, something related to the topic. That actually is a little bit difficult because they're pulling from a place that they normally don't do. Normally when we're drawing in art class, there's something in front of us, and it might be a technical drawing or an observational drawing, but a memory drawing is asking you to use your memory and recreate something. Kind of works really well with visualizing too when you're reading. It's a great time to pull out questions. What was a big misconception when I would travel is people would sit down and say, okay, today we're going to write down all the questions about bullying. When I'm learning about something, all my questions don't come out at first. I might have a couple questions the first day, but then I heard your story, and I'm wondering, okay, well, I wonder, is that how all conflict should be resolved? Should we just confront it and head on, or maybe I should? So it makes me have different questions. So each day, as you're sitting down and you have personal stories, some natural questions will arise. When you're doing some of your pre-phase planning, go ahead and write down some questions you want your kids to be investigating anyway, and naturally insert that into the conversation. First and second grade, and sometimes even beginning of your 3rd grade, I know it's a lot easier because a lot of what you say is just golden because it's really cool that we're going to do it. And I just wondered, and I can write it in there naturally. You are masters at what you do, and you're at a performing arts school. I know that you can finagle a way to get in some of your really deep, thick questions, and for even our older grades. But if you want some support with that, I'll gladly do that. Simple representations, and that can be just where you're showing what you know about. How are we on time, by the way?
20 minutes.
Okay, good. It's where you're showing what you currently know about the topic. So if we were doing a project on, I'll go back to dogs. I've had students make, I've not given them all of them because they would take it, but like a few Post-it notes, and they might make a flip book on, how you give a dog a bath. Or they might take a 3x5 index card because it's a little bit thicker, and then cut out and create something from it. But the word simple is in front of it for a reason. It's not going to be a big, complex, final representation like we're going to do later on in project work. It shouldn't require a lot of materials. It shouldn't require a lot of your money. We also have, iPad cards, and you've got some great maps in here, and so they can make, I'm going to show you a PowerPoint, and if they can do it really quickly within the first week or so of phase 1 on what they think they know about a topic, that's fine. It can be simple, but don't make it something, it doesn't have to be something really, really big yet, because we want to make sure that their knowledge is accurate. And then the student web also is in phase 1, and that's what comes out from the personal stories and from the memory drawings and from your simple representations, because you're going to have kids talk to you about their simple representations. You're also going to have them write a little bit about it. I always use the excuse with my class was, with them I'd say, my principal is going to be coming in later, and you're not going to be here after school, and I can't possibly remember all 25 things that you're doing, so I need you to write a little bit about it and how it connects to the topic. because they might say, this is a picture of me and my sister, and we were playing on the playground, and that's really about, you know, dogs, and there's a picture of a dog over there, but that's not telling me any information that they know about it. So be very specific in what you tell them to share with you. Questions right now about phase one?
Phase 1, about how long?
Phase one is about a week, sometimes 2 weeks, depending on how long you're gonna devote to it. I have a little bag over there. There are these blue and green project books that are really little.
I think a lot of us have.
Most of us should
people that
have these.
copies.
And if you don't,
I have copies if you need to borrow mine.
you're not doing project work right now.
What?
So you're not doing project work right now?
Yeah, no, not my home. You want me to do a project in my office?
Yes, I do. And the blue book is like the very beginning book about project work. These are the basic things that you need to know. It's a quick read. You don't have to sit and read it all at once. But one of the things it has in here is a chart that kind of divvies up the amount of time you spend on project work. Kindergarten, first grade, second grade, you're going to spend about 25% of your time in phase one, 50% in phase two, where they're researching and representing, and 25% in phase three. Third grade, fourth grade, you're going to spend 20, 60, 20. Fifth, sixth grade, about 15%, 70%, and then 15%. But it's in there. That what it boils down to is either, a week, sometimes 2 weeks, timing wise.